the inception of this idea, I know you've been to many speeches before. Can you hear me at the back? So I know you've been to many speeches before, you've been to many talks, and we had a very big problem with that because it didn't really go out of it with anything, except people speaking about their lives, their accolades, etc., and their achievements. So what we're trying to do with this regard to this is get that practical information that you need. When you're leaving a place, you leave empowered. I want to talk about empowerment as well, what that means. Is it just a conversational trope? Is it something that is placed to create an idea of transformation? We talk about transformation and people commit to it, but is it really happening? Those are the questions I'd like to ask. And I was very nervous today. As you can see, the room is full of very intelligent and beautiful people. So that's like a double whammy. I suffer from anxiety. I hope that doesn't shine through today. So how I combat it is prepare vigorously. I was up with school, going through the whole name. I feel like I know everyone who's going to be speaking today. And it just goes to the idea. Sue said to me, I said, Sue, listen, I don't think that I'm the right person for this because, yeah, I'm a man. And the discussion has to be led by the people who experience it. It's a discussion I've had with Sue as well. I asked him, he's very strategic in a way where he didn't put my name on the poster. It's like, Sue, my name's not on the poster. My name's not on the poster. This discussion is not about me. I know I'm a man, but he said to me, Wasanga, it's too easy for you to say that we're going to get a woman to speak because we need men to be involved in these conversations. We cannot speak in silos. We cannot say we support women if you're not practically doing something to make sure that this exercise happens. And without further ado, welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. And I said to him, secondly, that we're not going to have any problems today because women support each other. They support each other. And we need to have those lessons and insights into what is it about women and this network that you create. Is it the common obstacles and challenges that you face every day? Is it the questions that you have of yourself? So building on all those conversations, without further ado, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for your time once again. We have our first speaker, Koo Govender. I know she's prepared, hopefully she is. She's the CEO of Dentsu Aegis, and before I even say too much, she has a long list of things that she wants to speak about, but I'll let her take the floor. Koo Govender, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. So I'm going to introduce who I really am. My name is Koo. I've had my 24th wedding anniversary on Monday. I have two boys, Creston, who's 22, and he's just graduated with his CTA honors. So he's going to serve his articles at Deloitte, and he's officially off my payroll. And my youngest son, Kelton, he's first year at Wits. He studies electrical engineering. My husband, who's my support and also my mentor, is a vice president at Sasol, and I actually don't know what his title is, but I know he's an electrical engineer. But the reason I started off with my family, this is my philosophy about Koo Govender. My family and my friends are my crystal ball. And if that crystal ball shatters, it's gone. And it's very hard to replace. My career, on the other hand, is my rubber ball. If it falls down, rubber balls are easy to pick up. And the reason I started off with that, because as women, and there are men here, but I'm going to speak generally and I'm going to target more women because I love the way our first speaker spoke about men encouraging women in the corporate and in the entrepreneurial space. The one thing is that from a career and a family perspective, us women go through a lot of guilt. How many of you go through that guilt? But life is not about guilt, because if you position yourself of what's more important, that's the way you're going to move forward. So with that, I'm going to do a speed 5-minute of who I really am in the corporate world, and then I'm going to share my journey and also my challenges and the opportunities that I took. And I want to share some key tips with you as well. And then I'm going to open a 10-minute Q&A with you. So I am the CEO of Dentsu Aegis Media Network. We employ over 30,000 people across the world. I'm the CEO for South Africa, and I have an office in Johannesburg, and I head up our office in Cape Town. Prior to that, I was the first female CEO of VWV. It's a group experiential agency that did the World Cup. Prior to that, I spent 22 years at Mnet and MultiChoice as their marketing director and communications director. But it sounds so glorified because it's all CEO and marketing director and first woman to do this and first woman to do that. But where did Koo Govender really start? I was born and raised in KZN. Where's the KZN people? So, well done. And then I thought, okay, let me come to Igoli, the place of gold. So I'm sure you know, I'm 49. I'm sure a lot of you are looking at me and thinking how old I am. Next year is my big 50, but age is only a number. And when I came up to Johannesburg 26 years ago. I had graduated with a business management degree, grew up in an extremely conservative, traditional Indian family, never understood cultural diversity. So it was kind of deep apartheid as well. And coming up, and my first job was at Mnet, and I thought, okay, let me give this a shot. But in those days, there was no really HR procedures. You just gave your CV in, they looked at you, and they thought, okay, there's a little bit of talent here, let's employ her. But coming through the ranks at Mnet, the tip that I want to impart with you today is, initially at 22, how many 22-year-olds? Or how many people less than 25? Okay, it's quite a seasoned audience. But in my 22 seasoned, in my 22, the reason I say that, because sometimes age is something that we think we know it all. We really think we know it all. And coming into Mnet, the one thing I thought is that I had academics, but I didn't have EQ. I had the IQ and I didn't have the EQ. And ladies and gentlemen, I didn't know how to dress. I had a shocking attitude. A shocking attitude was your posture is so important, and I'm going to share that with you. It's how you receive people. It's how you greet people. It's how you say thank you. Those are important deal breakers, whether in the corporate or whether you in your own business. But I didn't have that at that age of 22. And that's what I said. And I remember having a presentation, not prepared. Walked into that presentation, and being a marketeer, I winged it. Completely winged it. The result of that presentation, I almost lost my job. One of my senior executives told me, at that time my surname was Chetty, Koo Chetty, you are going to be fired. And I was like, sure, that's hectic. And that was my pivotal turning point in my life, knowing that when I walk into a presentation, when you're walking into a pitch, when you're walking into an interview, you've got to be prepared. I live by 3 or 4 P's, and I'll share my P's with you. The first P is, whatever you do, you've got to be prepared. You've got to understand your content. Whatever your content is it a presentation? Is it a pitch? Is it a tender? Whatever it is, be prepared. The second thing is, and as people with living in a technology world, we're completely distracted. You've got to be present. You've got to live in the moment. And when you're not present, there's a lot of things that happen around you, and you don't know how to answer them because you are distracted. And you've got to live in that present, that people see you as immersive and people see you as engaged with them, that they know this person is serious about this tender. This person is serious about getting a promotion. The third P is about positioning yourself. How do you seat yourself in a boardroom table? How do you seat yourself in presence of somebody who's interviewing you? You position yourself well. You present yourself well. You dress appropriately. And the other thing is, for those who are in corporates, my fourth P is politics. We know what happens to our country in politics. So you know what happens in companies with politics. Stay away from politics. And sometimes my philosophy is, sometimes you don't really get involved, but you're involved. And what you have to do is say, should I win a war and lose a battle? So my philosophy is, I lose a lot of battles, but I never lose the war. Because losing the war means your bigger picture. So you never lose your bigger picture. And remember, it's being present, it's being fully prepared, it's positioning that makes you powerful, completely powerful. The other thing is being in a boardroom. I walk into a boardroom like a princess, and I'll tell you why. I put a crown on my head and I put a robe around me. So a crown makes me sit up, very position myself in terms of posture. I lean forward, I don't lean back. And a lot of women, we need to lean forward to get our places around the boardroom table. So you've got to lean forward. So lean forward means having that crown on your head that creates posture for you. And wearing a robe means no one can interfere with your space around you. So no one can compete with you in terms of your lack of confidence, your fear of failure, because you have a space that you've created, then no one can interfere in your space. So those are the things that you require when you walk into a boardroom. So the other thing is, it's so important, and I love the word challenges and opportunities. I have been in situations where I'm the only woman for this, only woman for that. That's not on. Women, we need to be there for one another. We need to support one another. How many of you heard of the PhD syndrome? It's called pull her down syndrome. Grace is my friend here. We've known each other for almost 5 years. She's always supported me. I've always supported her. It's having that inner circle of women that you can trust. And I recommend to you always have about 5 people that you bring into your inner circle that you can trust. And women that can bounce off things with one another. Where you're in a safe space. A lot of us as women feel, I can't show Grace that I'm vulnerable at the moment. She's going to think I'm weak. It's about having that support of network, of friends. The other thing is you need a mentor or a coach. When I spoke about my journey at 22, I had approached a female at that stage saying, will you mentor me? Her words to me was, I don't believe in mentorship. I don't believe in female development. And this was now almost 20 years ago. And I promise you ladies, that for me was my turning point of what is my purpose in my life? What am I achieving to? And life, I live a philosophy. Success is one element, but significance is so important. Significance is the important part. And I'm going to share the significance part. But the success part is you all need a destination. Where is your destination? Because if you don't have a destination, you're going to go in circles. And then you're going to think, I came back same place. 5 years ago, I've been in the same place. Why have I not been promoted? You need your destination. With your destination, how many of you use your Garmin, your roadmap, your navigation system in the car? I use it constantly. So in life, to get to your destination, you need your roadmap. So you always craft a roadmap. So in the next 2 years, I see myself opening up my business. In the next 2 years, I'm going to get a promotion. In the next few years, I'm going to be a marketing director, or I'm going to be a CEO. Nothing is impossible. When I was 22, and when I actually had gotten a male mentor to mentor me, and he said, Koo Chetty, where do you see yourself in your 40s? And I was like, this man is really joking with me. I'm 22, and he's asking me about my 40s. And I'll never forget this. He said, if you don't have your destination, you're going nowhere. And my words to him was, I see myself as a CEO. But at 22, I never knew that I could become a CEO. But I had a destination. So ladies and gentlemen, when you're crafting your goals, where is your destination? And with that destination, how many of you know what a SWOT analysis is? We do SWOT analysis on our competitors, we do a SWOT analysis on our companies, but have you ever done a SWOT analysis on yourself? And I promise you, that is such an important thing to do a SWOT analysis on yourself. Because when you do a SWOT analysis on yourself, you realize what's your strengths, what's your opportunities, what's your challenges, what's your challenges and what's your opportunities, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses. And you've got to be honest with yourself to say, I'm actually not good at this, but you know what? I can get better at that. So that's one of the most important things, is to do a SWOT on yourself. The second thing that I would like to impart, especially to the women in the room, a lot of us, I'm a mother, And I go through constant guilt of not spending time with my children. And that is something I've made a decision that I'm going to be a career woman. But I don't spend quality with my kids. But the one thing that I do is I don't spend quantity with my kids, but the one thing that I do is I spend quality with my kids. So the two Qs, is it quantity where there's time gone and you're not creating memories, but is there quality where you're really immersing yourself with your children, with your family, and with your friends? So that's about the rules of engagement. The other thing is a network. As much as you have your inner circle, but whatever you are, whatever industry you're in, are you networking at functions to meet the right people? Are you looking at LinkedIn and saying, this is a person that I would like to aspire to, or this is a person that would help me open a door? And that is so important because sometimes we think, oh my God, I've got a 9-to-5 job. I'm so tired to go to a networking event. But networking is so important. The other thing is, I encourage this to each and every one of you. You need a coach. You need a mentor. That is so important because having a coach and having a mentor creates accountability for you. You have to be accountable in terms of where your journey is. And the other thing in terms of challenges, and I call it my unmasked moment because I don't have a presentation, but what you see is my authenticity. And in terms of unmasking is sharing my experiences of how I got here. I have been corporately bullied by men, but it's about calling it to other men, but not losing your femininity. Because a lot of women think when they're in senior positions, they have to behave as men. God created us as women for a reason. So celebrate it, women. Absolutely celebrate it. And when men attack you viciously, when people speak to you in a manner that is absolutely inappropriate or unacceptable, we as women think, oh my God, they're gonna think we're emotional. It's not about being emotional. It's about being factual. Because a lot of people tell us, oh, is it this time of the month? You're being emotional. But when you present with facts, facts don't lie. And that's the important thing. If you feel, in terms of your challenges, there are corporate bullies, and sometimes women are corporate bullies as well, but it's calling. But calling it means you present it with facts. And how did I do it? I was really, it's quite a hard sort to think about it, but you know what? I've gone through it and I've overcome it. I've had a man who was much more senior than I was, but wanted a position that I had honestly earned and was promoted into it. So what he would do is he would speak aggressively towards me in boardroom meetings or expo meetings. And initially I thought, I felt uncomfortable. And I went home to my husband and I said, I'm feeling very uncomfortable about this. And he said, but why aren't you speaking about it? And I said, no, he's going to think I'm emotional. And he said, craft your facts. On certain day, this is the way you spoke. On certain day, this is what you said. And I thought, okay, let me do this. So I called him into a meeting and I took my position of princess with my robe, with my crown, and was very, very confident and very, very factual. And I said, this is what you've done. He was so surprised and he said, oh my God, I didn't even know that I was being that to you. So I don't know if it was, an excuse. Like I said, I'm going through personal problems and maybe I came across very aggressive to you. But I said, I will not lose my femininity and I will not scream and shout back at you in meetings because I'm celebrating my femininity. But the next time you do that, I will ask you very nicely to leave the boardroom. And the next time you do that, we will ask HR to do an intervention. He apologized profusely. But ladies and gentlemen, if I didn't stand up for what was right, I would have still been bullied by other people. So whatever your challenges are, call it out and find the most amicable way to resolve it. And there's always ways to resolve it. And in terms of opportunities, and I'm busy with the research in terms of opportunities. one of the biggest things that prevents, especially women and men as well, from reaching the next phase is their lack of confidence. Confidence is the biggest barrier. And why? Why confidence? It's the fear of failure. So, how do we overcome that fear of failure? We've got to say, if we fail, what is the worst thing that can happen to us? If we fail, what is the experience that I'm taking away from that failure? So those opportunities, whether you're in corporate, whether you're starting up your business, whether you're studying, you've got to look at those opportunities, craft a way on how to achieve those opportunities. So that is such an important thing. Then lastly, I'm trying to speed up because I know of my time. Lastly, I want to speak about the most important thing, which is significance. What is your significance? What is your purpose? What do you want to do for other men and women in South Africa? And my significance, knowing that I didn't have a woman to mentor me. In a very late age, a woman did mentor me, but in my early ages, I didn't. I physically developed and came up with the concept of Karma Women's Academy. BWV, my ex-company, actually supports it. It basically equips young women into the corporate world. To this day, we've taken over 100 women through it. We get mentors to mentor them and basically equipping them so they can eventually take their seat in that boardroom table. Basically have the confidence to open up their own business. So that's my significance. My other time, I also mentor other women and men because I want to see women empowerment transformational agenda where there's more transformation that's happening in the corporates, where we as women and as men of South Africa, how are we transforming South Africa? That we open the doors for other men and women to take up senior positions in South Africa. So that should be your agenda. It's not the I syndrome. I need to get to this. I need to get to that. That's important. But how many people are you taking along that journey? That is so important. Because if you're not taking people along with you, I can tell you this now, the quicker you're going up that ladder, the quicker you're going to fall down and you're going to have no support. So with that, thank you. Quick.
That's cool. Just before we head into the Q&A session, thank you so much. That was incredible. All of our gifts today are written by Black African authors.
Thank you.
And, Black authors that are from Africa. So I think if anyone doesn't have any questions, I think what stood out for me, especially the 4 Ps, and the synergy between family and balancing the support structure, and most importantly, how you handle conflict. We know that in male-dominated and patriarchal societies, there are systemic, oppressive, conscious and unconscious things that happen in altercations and conflicts. So I appreciate the fact that you talked about there's an ability and there's strength in gentleness. You don't need to shout at someone to be able to get a point through across.
My name is Johnny. I'm from the Pan African Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber is setting up a fund, business fund for women. So that's actually why I'm here. I think there's about 2 or 3 men. But I'm here with our Director of Women Empowerment, the Pan African Chamber of Commerce. My question is to you, looking at what has basically you've gone through in your journey in the private sector. What do you think is the one most important thing the private sector can do in partnership with the public sector to close the economic gender gap in Africa?
So firstly, I think the private sector has to have that transformational agenda because, and it has to be accountable transformational agenda. The second thing is about upskilling us women because sometimes we put women in situations, in positions where they set out to fail because they have not been skilled and trained properly. So it's very nice to give a woman a promotion. She doesn't have the experience and she doesn't have the support around her. So that's when she fails. Oh, it's a woman that failed. You know? But if you have the right tools and the right equipment to set her up and the right mentor and coach, I think that's where women will be successful and will quickly get that gender inequality sorted out.
As women, as we move with the ranks, we have a problem with negotiation as a skill. So I'd like to get some tips from you, how you manage to negotiate better for yourself, confident also as a woman, and not carrying too aggressive or pushy. because as women, some of us are going to go into businesses, you have to sit there with the boardroom full of men. You need to be able to negotiate whatever amount you need for your business or your tender, and being able to be assertive in doing that and accepting that offer and happy about it.
So as women, we're very apologetic, right? I am so sorry to barge into this meeting. I'm so sorry to ask for an increase, right? Why are we apologizing? So that's the first thing we've got to overcome. We shouldn't be apologetic. The second thing is, if you're negotiating for an increase, so I'll start with increase. You go and look at your salary benchmark. Where are you positioned in terms of, if you're a marketing manager or an account director, what are other account directors earning in that industry? Benchmark yourself. Benchmark that. Look at adepts, because because that will help you. Phone recruitment agencies and say, what do you offer account managers? And you will get your benchmark. So that firstly is being prepared. Prepare your facts, and then go and say, this is what I've done. I've accomplished this, and that. And with that, I would like to request that my salary be reviewed, and this is what the increase that I'm looking at. And should you be looking at a tender, and we know a lot of people in terms of tenders, because economy, from an economy perspective, sometimes we're quite desperate for work. And from a supplier perspective, they run by procurement agencies. So they push the price in terms of reduction. But once you deliver on quality, and once you have your competitive advantage from your competitors, they can't negotiate you further. Because this is my price, this is what I'm going to deliver on quality, on delivery, on time, and this is what I am. So I think that's the most important thing, and it comes with confidence. The confidence is you wear your crown and your robe and you position yourself well. But with that, be prepared the questions that they're going to ask you as well. So I'm in the media agency, so we do a lot of pitches. So what I do with my team is I say, okay, what do you think the client's going to ask us? And I just, we throw out questions. So we prepare ourselves for the tender questions in terms of negotiations. And that's what gives you that confidence, because you already know you kind of have an idea of what they're going to ask you.
Hi, thank you. I'm asking a question more from the perspective of entrepreneurship and mentorship. I'm an entrepreneur, but I also run a podcast interviewing everyday entrepreneurs about their journey. And so far, it's synonymous with what you've said, that mentorship and coaching is important. But the question that often gets asked from my audience is, but how do you first of all find the right mentor for you? And then once you do find somebody, how do you approach them? Like, especially if it's somebody like you who's busy, what is the best channels to go to find a good mentor?
Okay, I actually do a presentation on mentorship. So the mentorship, the first thing is, being a marketer, I live with acronyms. It's called CCs. It's like dating. The first C is chemistry. When you look for your mentor, there must be chemistry. The second thing is confidentiality. So that particular mentor, do you think you can trust them? So those things are very important, is your chemistry and your confidentiality. The other thing is your aspiration. Go through LinkedIn and say, this is the type of person I'd like to mentor. Ask them. If people ask me on LinkedIn, Koo, would you mind having a discussion with me? I'm open to having a discussion, and I make sure I refer them to the right channels. So, and the other thing is, in terms of having a mentorship session as well, you got to be committed to it. A lot of people ask for it and not committed to it. So that's my other C, is your commitment to that mentorship session. And the other thing about mentorship is acquiring that mentor. Sometimes you're a young woman, you got to look for a mentor who's a little bit older than you. If you're a mother and you have kids, look for somebody that is in the same situation as you, that can understand what you're going through. And you don't only, a lot of us get it wrong. You don't have to have one mentor. I have got like 3 or 4 mentors for several different things that I face in my life. So sometimes you're not going to find one mentor that's going to give you everything. So if you want to have a business mentor, that's fine. A personal mentor, that's fine as well.
Thank you. My name is Nelly, and I'm glad that when you started speaking, you spoke about emotional intelligence and having your own, I call it your own board of directors,
Yes.
your support structure, because everybody needs to surround themselves with a successful team and a team that roots for them to be successful. My question for you is, do you think in SA and in Africa in particular, because my outlook is always continental and not only just here at home, do you think we'll ever get to a point whereby we see things like assertiveness, emotional intelligence, and all the other human sciences? Do you think we'll ever get to a point whereby we stop calling them soft skills because they really aren't soft skills? Anybody who has dealt with human behavior can tell you that it is a science that scientists themselves cannot crack. Are we ever going to get to a point whereby life coaches and inspirational speakers, I'm not talking about those people that you get into a room and they hype you up, and when you go back home, you back to your own crappy self again. I'm talking about life coaches, behavioral coaches, and inspirational speakers. Are we ever going to get to a point whereby their businesses are seen as businesses that are worthy and services to be paid for, and not just just a feel-good exercise that a company wants to get together for? Thank you.
So that's a very good question because, and especially the gentleman that asked me about private and public sector. A lot of people, especially in the private sector, was always about what's your technical skills. They were more concerned about the technical skills. I've joined Dentsu now about 22 months, and I went through it's called an emotional intelligence questionnaire and also an interview before I could get this job. So for me, the emotional intelligence and what you say, softer skills, I don't think it's even softer skills. It is an integration of becoming successful in whatever your career is. And I can see private sectors already doing that. You see, people don't have EQ. They shouldn't be CEOs. They shouldn't be managers because people are your assets of your company. If you don't have the empathy for people, how is your company going to hit that bottom line? Never ever. So, and also for people with specialist skills of the coaches and mentors, I can see now private sectors taking this more seriously. When there's an issue with a senior manager, they go, a coach or a mentor is going to help you with this intervention. So now I think there is going to be an evolution of coaches and mentors assisting in the private sector, and it's going to be a fundamental requirement to success for leaders in South Africa and in Africa, across our continent, because that's what's going to happen. If people have no EQ and no softer humanity, how are we going to progress as a nation and as a continent?
Okay, my question is, you spoke about Koo to her family, you spoke about Koo to the business side, but you didn't speak about Koo to herself. Being a woman who's in a position of influence or power, you'll find that a lot of people are feeding off you, but you don't actually get to get a balance to feed into yourself. How do you look after yourself and make time for that?
I've gone through several burnouts. And at the moment, I've been diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. And an underactive thyroid is I picked up 8 kilos. I did. And an underactive thyroid is your adrenal glands. And it's refueling. And that's the one thing I didn't speak about was when you're crafting your destination, and it's so important, self-care is so important. And that's why I said from a destination point of view, and I'm going to use the analogy of a car. So because I'm from Durban, let me just say, so if I'm driving from Joburg to Durban, in those days, a car needed refueling. And each and every one of you needs a refuel. Each and every one of you needs a service. Your car needs a service, your car needs a refuel. So my thing was, and it took me a long time to get through self-care because I was more interested in my husband, my kids, my family. My self-care is what makes Koo in a happy place. I go to church every Sundays where I'm in my happy place. I assist with my community, which is in my happy place. And I live in an estate where there's lots of dams and ducks. I watch the sunrise. I appreciate nature. I fuel my soul with what God's nature around me. And the other thing about fueling my soul as well, I go to gym, I try and go to gym at least 3 or 4 times a week in terms of getting that stress off my body as well. And my other thing is doing things for other people makes me into a happy place. So as much as, and in some way my mentoring helps me refuel myself. And sometimes it could be giving yourself off, but it actually refuels me. So, and my walks every morning, and I meditate. When I walk, I meditate and I walk. And you know, a lot of us, and I've started this, I've stopped it. A lot of us, as soon as you wake up, what do? You look at your cell phone, right? And I'm like, no, I've actually now put my cell phone away from my bedside. When I walk, I actually, and I'll share this quickly with you. The one day, as soon as I woke up, I looked at this email and I was like, oh my God, I don't believe this person sent me this email. And I was ready to type it out. And I said, you know, let me just walk. And I promise you, as I walked and appreciated nature around me and just refueled myself with nature, my response was so different from the hour that I saw in the email. So that's the other thing. It's about giving yourself. Do you meditate? Do you pray? Whatever you do it first so you know you have the energies to face the day with. So with that, I'm going to ask you a question. I would like to put this challenge on each and every one of you. All of us love brands, right? I can see a lot of brands around me. So what is brand you? Have you ever asked yourself that question? What is brand you? What do you stand for? And it's not what you stand for in the office or in your business. It's what you stand for 24/7. And I can tell you my brand, Koo Govender, is I am a woman enabler. I am a youth enabler. I live for it, and I live by it, and I action by it. And I am on that transformational agenda. I want to see this continent in a better place, right? So I think it's so important to ask yourself, what is your brand? What is your brand you? But living your brand you, meaning being authentic. You know, we say Levi's are authentic jeans. Are you really authentic? Or do you mask up or do you mask down? Because masking up and masking down, being pretentious, you get caught out very quickly. But being authentic, you never get caught out. Because you're always the same person. And what you say, you do. Your actions have to be louder than words. And with that, I close.
Thank you so much, Koo Govender, CEO. So, yeah, I think that was a very, very, very great discussion. Koo, thank you so much for your time once again. Let's give a round of applause. So I think there's a lot of different oscillating movements with regard to that conversation and what we learned. And from the aspect just of understanding what she talked about the conflict that happens in offices. We live in a toxic environment. Our offices are toxic. I'm not a pessimistic person. I try not to be. And that element of being gentle and understanding EQ. So for some of you who've just joined us, you think that talking is easy because I am on radio. I present for 702. But I always share the fact that I suffer from anxiety for a reason. Because when you are able to be genuine and you can say, listen, I can move and transcend beyond this fear because this moment is much bigger than me. Every single person here is very important for this discussion. It's bigger than me. I hope I've prepared as much as possible. And without further ado, and what she talked about in terms of just the men who are here as well, when she talked about handling issues without making partnership with men and not making them feel insecure, I think also an important question is to ask yourself why you feel insecure and why you feel the need to respond in that way. And beyond what she said as well, coddling is a big problem. We have fathers who are literally kids. That's why marriage at the moment is not a very viable kind of engagement. Who benefits from it? Who benefits from it? So we need to be honest with these discussions. And as men, we also have that element of, and women, we have that element of conscious and unconscious toxic elements of being supportive of the status quo because of fear. You don't know what the future holds. So once you get that information and move beyond the ignorance, I think it's much easier.